So in the last video, in regards to covering the types of skills, I talked about damage skills and the different types of damage skills. So I'm going to talk about control skills. So control skills are skills that prevent enemies from doing things that they want to do. They generally are like considered shutdown. Skills that are control are like interrupts, knockdowns, blinding foes, giving them daze, things like that. Things that just make foes really bad at doing the things that they want to be doing. So for example, Cry of Frustration is a damaging control skill. Oops, I just used that. Not really thinking about it. So an example of a pure control skill is Psychic Instability. This just knocks down a dude in nearby for 4 seconds if they're using a skill. So it's quite strong for just controlling foes. A good example of a control skill in PvP is Empathy, because enemies will actually kill themselves by attacking, and in PvE, but in PvP, like, players will actually stop attacking if they're empathied, because they'll just kill themselves so quickly. And unlike dumb AI, players will actually not attack under the effects of empathy, so it acts like a control skill. In PvE, however, enemies are quite stupid and they'll just keep attacking. So this thing, let's throw empathy on it, and just like keep attacking, because he doesn't care. When he starts, it's really just doing his thing there, I guess. Alright, so he's just casting spells, but yeah, so control skills are just skills that are part of like shutdown, which is, you need it in every team comp. Mesmerway runs Cry of Frustration and Mistrust for the most part. The reason they run these is because they are really good, and they both deal damage and shut down enemy casters, which is a big problem in hard mode. Casters are like your biggest threat for just like wiping your party. So yeah, so let's go over like some builds that I'm running, and we'll look at like control skills. So in my build, there's Psychic Instability, interrupts a foe, knocks them down. You can see right there, just knocked that dude down. So that's like pure control. It's almost like a utility skill in a way, where it's just like knockdown, but the utility is that it's control, so it doesn't let foes do what they're trying to do, so it just knocks them all down. Then we have Cry of Frustration, which you can see here, which interrupts target foe and all foes in the area if you hit them while they're using a skill, and they also take damage. So this is a damage control skill. You have Mistrust, which causes one spell to fail targeting one of your allies, and then all nearby foes, including the target, take 94 damage. Wastrel's Demise is just a damage skill that combos with control, so if you prevent enemies from using skills, this will just keep dealing damage to them over time. It deals roughly 150 damage over 5 seconds to adjacent. So if you use this on a foe that is Psychic Instability, especially if you use this and then use Psychic Instability, it will last for its duration unless they use like a shout or a stance or like some monster creature skill. Unnatural Signet is just a damage skill. Guilt is kind of like a shutdown skill. It's like a shutdown utility. You can steal energy from a foe, which is useful for managing your own energy. So that's really where you use that. It also causes a spell to fail. Chaos Storm is just pure damage and some control because it drains energy, which is a needed resource to use skills. Empathy in PvP is a control skill, and PvE it is a damage skill. So let's look at, for example, two Mother Mesmers. So Energy Surge is kind of control, but mostly damage. The control is from the energy drain. If enough Mesmers use Energy Surge on a target, it will cause their energy to get quite low or even hit 0, which can be a form of control. Draining energy is definitely a control like type of ability. Mistrust, same thing. Cry and all the rest. So Ineptitude is definitely control because it causes blind on enemy attacking. It can hit a group of adjacent attacking enemies and blind them all when they attack and damage them, so it is a damage control skill. The blind is control because it prevents enemies from hitting you with melee. Arcane Conundrum is definitely a control skill because it causes foes to take twice as long to cast spells, which makes it much easier for me and my other Mesmers to both interrupt them with our different interrupts and to hit them with like Mistrust, because if it takes them like 3 or 4 seconds to cast a spell and it gets mistrusted anyways, they basically just wasted their time. Wandering Eye. This is a control damage skill, mostly on the damage side. Interrupts one foe's next attack, and then all nearby foes take some damage. So, some control there. On my Elementalist, the only real control I have is Meteor, which just knocks foes down and damages them. The rest is just damage. So control is always used in every team comp. For the case of this Minion Master, there's no real control. There's just like minions, so it's just like bodies plus damage. So you usually have like Mesmers or like some, like to a lesser extent, Ellies shutting things down and controlling foes. Mesmer is the best class in the game at doing this. The reason mesmerway is so good is because of the control and the damage, and the fact that it's all armor ignoring on top of that is just quite insane. So there's really not too much to control. There's like different types of control. For example, you have knockdown, you have interrupts, you have skill disable. That's not as useful in PvE, but in PvP that's very strong. If you hit something with power block, if you power block a monk or an Ellie in PvP, you practically just shut them down for like a few seconds. Same thing with blackout. Blackout can disable skills, like an entire foe's bar, which is crazy, which is great for setting up spikes. But this is not very good in PvE. So yeah, the main forms of PvE control you'll see are like psychic instability, knockdown, interrupts like cry, frustration, skills like mistrust, maybe guilt. I don't really see people running guilt. But yeah, that's control. You definitely need it, and the reason you need it is because enemy casters are so strong in hard mode, they'll just wipe you in like 1 or 2 spells. So like if you run into like some enemy elementalist, it'll just destroy you. It's also useful to shut foes down and to control them, so you can hit them with like spam and AoE. That's the main thing I use it for. So in this case, I combine Psychic Instability with Wastrel's Demise, so that they're just constantly taking damage, and then I hit them with Interrupts and Shutdown, just to prevent them from doing anything. So yeah, that's control. Thanks for checking this out. I have one more skill category to cover, and that's healing. And I'll see you in that one.